One of the great things is the way in which we interact with this community. We couldn't do that on KGO. We were born of a radio station called KGO. They were a giant talk radio station in San Francisco. And one day, the station went away. And the reason they went away was because they are owned, or were owned, but they continue to be owned by a conglomerate, a broadcast conglomerate. And those broadcast conglomerates, they don't necessarily sell in the same way. They don't view their assets in the same way. It's all very dollars and cents, which is business, which is fine. But there are sort of a different set of evaluations that you might make if you're a conglomerate, and this is just one more station, as opposed to a local ownership, which I think in the good old days, Clinton was the one who really unlocked this kind of, the Clinton administration, this beast, which is these broadcast conglomerates owning all of these stations across the country. And it's had political repercussions as well, as you know. But anyway, back to our story. So we were eliminated because, again, we were just a line item, and it was cheaper not to pay hosts, producers, call screeners, engineers, etc., production people, news department. You just get rid of all of it. Now you run a syndicated thing, and if you make, you do a rev share, I suppose, with advertisers, and if you make $1, that's $1 in the positive when you were before running a negative because of the way the station was being run and because of all those charges that the station was carrying. Those people and payroll that they were carrying, as I was saying. So we went away, and all of us went away. And what I wanted to do today, just real quick and nothing's real quick right now because of poor Pat Thurston's waiting. She's thinking, yeah, Mark, this isn't really quick what you're doing. Yeah, I know. But I am wanting to give people who don't know KGO, who have just found our show through TYT and through just finding their way here, a sense of our history. And what I'm going to do, and this will be quick, is I wanted to get everybody who was on the air when the music stopped, when the station just went away. So I was literally on the air at the time, and they told me about it minutes before we went on. I mean, it might have been, I want to say like 7 minutes before we went on, maybe fewer than that. They it was like, hey, it was really weird. I got a call from the general manager and the program director. Anyway, somebody else who was on the air at that time with a show, a very well listened to show, is Pat Thurston and John Rothman and Nikki. And so of those, we put the all call out, but it's very tough these days. But one person has ridden in to join us for our 2-year celebration and kind of to look back at, how we ended up here. How about it for the great Pat Thurston, everyone? Yeah. Yes, indeed. Hey. Look at you. You cutie. What's happening?
Hey, Mark,
great to have you here.
You can fix your trigger finger, I had it too. It's the simplest surgery in the world. They just snip a little ligament there and you're back to normal.
Really?
Don't put up with it. Oh, yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's funny because I've been averse to the surgery, but you're saying don't be.
There's nothing to it.
Okay.
It's so simple. It's just, and the recovery is really fast. It's the thing to do. Don't put up with that. It's awful.
It is awful, and it gives me pain, and it keeps me up at night sometimes, and yeah. So.
And if it's locking, especially,
my God,
mine didn't
both
get
are
to
locking.
the point where it was locking, and I had it done, and I'm really glad that I did.
Wow, that's great. We could stop right now, and I'd be happy.
Okay.
I mean, in the sense that I've gotten all I need. Yeah. Pat, after KGO, you went on to KCBS, which you're there quite a bit. I think you're there every week, right?
Well, here's the thing. I was there more than I am now, but that's by my choice. And it's because I have a big family, and my oldest brother, who I love very dearly, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Oh my God.
So it turns out that, I can help him do a lot of things, go to his appointments, help him grocery shop, do things that need to be done. And I couldn't really do that and have a schedule that was up in the air. So I asked them not to schedule me Monday through Friday anymore. So now I've been regularly appearing on KCBS. I go on the air at 2 on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm on until 7. So 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's not officially my official schedule, but it's been the schedule I've been on for several months now. And I expect that to go until we resolve something with my brother, and then I can, do more.
Now,
But I miss
Kim,
Geo so
yeah,
much. It's so different. Oh, I'm a news
sure.
anchor, and a
Yeah.
news anchor, I can't opinionate. I have very, very brief interviews. I don't have the kind of control over the program that we had at KGO. I mean, we were just given free reign over our programs, and for which I am so grateful. But I thought there were some phenomenal programs we had, wonderful guests that we had, and especially in leading up to an election that's as important as this election is. It just breaks my heart that we're not there. And even not on the national scale, but on a state scale. I used to do debates of ballot propositions so that people really understood what they were voting
Yeah.
for on a ballot proposition. Who
Sure.
has the ability to read through all that gobbledygook and figure out which way they should vote? And I think it was such a great benefit to all voters to be able to have something like that. And we had local candidates and all of that sort of thing. But then we did things on a national scale, on an international scale. We had breaking news that we covered. I mean, with Kim McAllister, Kim and I think were pretty much unbeatable when it came to doing breaking news stories, whether it was the wildfires or any other thing that was breaking, school shootings. We were so great together. But one of the things that made us great was the audience, because we had the ability and we did it. It was what we needed to do. It was our identity. The people who were listening were participants in the program every single day. The callers who called in, I mean, some of them became celebrities in their own right because they had so much to offer, to the program and to the listening audience. I just think it's a shame. And there's nothing like it in the San Francisco Bay Area anymore. Nothing. There's such a void that has been left. And I don't know if it's a void that's ever going to be filled again. And that's a damn dirty shame.
Let me ask you something about the proposition thing that you used to do, and we did it on our show too.
Yeah.
I thought KCB, maybe not to the extent that you did or as well as you did, but I know we did it. So, I love that you identify it, because I see every time at voting that, there are a lot of ballot propositions and just general complexities to the ballot that need to be sorted out and kind of do it together in the kind of I don't know, electronic bar room that is and was KGO radio, and here to a degree, but really it's a much, much different thing. I get what I wanted to ask you was, doesn't KCBS do some of that, this news station where you are now? I would think they do. Yeah.
To my knowledge, I have not heard that there's anything like that that's going to be happening this year. I offered to do it. I've offered to
because they
do
had a guy who did, who did they have who did it? They had that Chris and Carlo.
Oh,
Was
Doug Sovereign is their political reporter
Yeah,
as
Doug
well.
Sovereign's
Sovereign,
political
okay.
reporter
Okay.
now. But I haven't heard anything about something like that being done. But KCBS they have a couple of programs that are longer. They do one called In Depth, which is on the weekends. But, the shows that we would do would be, we would have both sides or three sides or however many sides there were in the studio most of the time. And it was at least an hour that the discussion went on.
Wow.
And listeners were able to participate. I would ask questions. They would ask questions of one another. And it was really, really illuminating. And I don't know that anybody else does that.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we went it for an hour. That's really impressive. We like to keep it moving here, Pat, and I like to keep it moving at KGO. After 20 minutes or half hour, I'm on to the next thing. But that,
You have a short attention span.
That's a little true.
Even when you wear your credibility glasses.
Yes, then I can dig in occasionally. Also on the air with us when the talk stopped at KGO and the station went away. It literally doesn't exist anymore. John Rothman, who is still a regular here. Hey, John Rothman, how are you?
Wonderful, may I say. Pat Thurston, I send you hugs and kisses.
Oh,
You're
back
doing-
to you too. I miss you, John.
Well, you're doing a great job on KCBS.
Thank you.
Well, you miss the she misses KGO. She doesn't want to be
Well,
a
we
news
all
anchor
do.
only.
I miss the interaction. I can tell you I love what you're doing, Mark, but it's not the same thing. People, when they see me now, say, didn't you used to be John Rothman?
Yeah.
And the simple reality is that KGO served a vital function here in San Francisco. and in Northern California.
Yeah.
Not only because it gave people a chance to interact, talk, and reflect, we were able to argue issues, and we had diversity. We had liberals, conservatives, libertarians. We had everything. And to me, talk radio is even more vital than it was. Can you imagine? We are the fourth largest media market in America, and we don't have a talk radio station. And I want I do listen to KCBS, and I appreciate KCBS, but KCBS is not news talk; it's news.
Well, we have one. It's just conservative, right? What is it? The one that used to be next door, KSFO.
Yeah, but that's not local. KSFO is not
local. It's all syndicated.
It's all syndicated stuff. And the reason I'm happy to appear on the Mark Thompson Show is because at least it gives former KGO listeners and others an opportunity for some interaction. But the greatest tragedy for us was our listeners' loss. And, KGO as a vital function in the Bay Area. Think about disasters. Think about earthquakes. Think about times when the American people wanted to come together. September 11th, I was the anchor on September the 11th. I'll never forget that evening when the news stopped, and at 7:00 we went on live. Or think about when a presidential election takes place. I want to reflect that Pat and I, for the last couple of decades, have anchored KGO on election night. And,
yes, I used to love those, actually.
Yep. And
that's when Pat could actually get a word in edgewise. Rothman would shut up for a second and let Pat talk. It was great. I missed that.
We had the time of our lives together on election night. We look forward to that so much.
And
Rothman's gotten sexier though since he left.
Kind words, Mark. Yeah. But it's true.
You're a sexy fool, and I like to give you a hard time.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead, John. Please,
right.
John. Well, John, could you just keep talking for 90 minutes, and then we'll just pot John down and have him there. You'll just see him occasionally. We'll come to him. And you're going to another thing. And I want to say this. And this is very, very important, and I want to make this very clear to all of your listeners and viewers.
You want to make it perfectly clear. Let's get it right.
All right.
But anyway, on election night this year, I will severely regret the fact that I'm not sitting with Pat Thurston and having the input and the bulletins that came in from Kim McAllister and Brett Burkhart and all of the team at KGO. What a loss for this community.
Yeah.
Lee Kopp with a $50 super chat. Wow. Eileen and I wish you a happy second anniversary, Mark. Great to see Pat today. We miss the whole KGO family, but this new incarnation has certainly helped ease the pain and opened up a new community for us. Here is to many more years on YouTube. Lee Kopp and Eileen, his wife. They are great supporters since
Hi, Lee. Hi, Eileen.
Yeah, right on. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Or thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I like the British. Social Butterfly Beauty. Sheila, also a great supporter of the show. Happy 2-year anniversary. You have created a great community. She throws us $20 and says, thanks. And
see, that's the thing. It's like I know we're all sad that KGO's gone, but we didn't know that we would be doing this 2 years after the station went away, to be sitting here and still doing something that we find valuable and having created this great community. I think that's amazing. 2 years in. I mean, who knew that it would last this long? I'm grateful.
No, it is. It's really. It's extraordinary. It's a different beast than radio completely. Kelly, who has also been here since the beginning. Kelly Malloy, $10 super chat. Happy anniversary. I followed you from KGO.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people from KGO came over this way. If you're just joining us, this is our second year on the air here on YouTube, our home platform. And then, of course, it's served out as an audio podcast across Spotify, across iHeartRadio, across, again, wherever you get Apple Podcasts. And so we're just grateful for our friends, and we miss them. And the KGO friends, you can see them. John and Pat and Nikki has another job. She's going to try to duck out and get here. She was the morning person. But Pamela Kirby with a $20 super chat, been out of the country. Happy 2 years of the show, she says.
Oh, she's 1999. I like that girl.
Yeah, baby.
Big shout out.
Big shout out from Pat Thurston. Well, guys, you're so lovely to come by. The lady Beatrice for the $5 super chat. Happy 2 years. Here's to more years of showing corporations they can't silence you. Let their greed be their own downfall. Wow, I love that. The lady Beatrice speaks in like it's Game of Thrones, Let the greed be their own downfall. Yes. KGO listener, since I moved to California in 1986, good job, guys, says Buck Meadows. Buck's he likes to stir the pot, typically. Likes to find, he's a little bit of a smart ass. So,
Good.
Yeah.
We
so
need
there's
those.
that. Harry Magnan, how about a Mark Thompson election night special with John and Pat?
Oh, that'd be good.
That would be good. I'm on the radio in Los Angeles on election night. I'm sorry. Yeah, but those
John
guys
and I'll
could-
probably be on the phone to each other doing our own show.
Yeah, you could do your own show.
I certainly hope so.
Mark and Kim, congratulations on 2 whole years of whatever the hell this has been.
Exactly, whatever this is.
Thank you so much.
Trevor Starr in Hollywood, who did send me a bunch of great new drops, which I'll share with you. Beth Farmer with a $50, $49.99 super chat.
Wow.
2 years of great content and interaction between all of you talents. Hope to enjoy you all for many more. Look at that. Pat will give you
such
much
a great
love.
job with the heart.
What it tells me is that we're still doing something that people find valuable. And I think that's awesome because it left such a gaping hole at least in the Bay Area. But now we don't have just former KGO listeners. Now we have listeners from all across America and the world. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's cool. It
Yeah.
really is. We have.
But I hasten to point out, when we were on KGO, we had listeners from all over the world.
Yeah, that's true.
We
too.
had
Yeah.
I had people from Hong Kong, from Berlin. We had regular people. In fact, I just had a wonderful email from a listener, and I think you got the same one, Mark, about Rama, reflecting on people who were part of our family, many of them now gone. And I would remind you that our hosts, people like Ray Taliaferro, like Gene Burns, who were part of the fabric and life of San Francisco. And that's the tragedy. I don't know if it's possible to recreate what we had on KGO. Maybe it isn't possible anymore. But what a loss for the community. What a loss that we don't have those kinds of personalities who made such a difference. I was with somebody the other day who was talking to me about Ron Owens, and I don't know if Ron is listening in now, but he is greatly missed in this community. And so I'm just glad we're still here and that we can do this. And I want to put in the plug, Mark. People should support the Mark Thompson program in order to make sure that we have this vehicle for as long as we can.
Well, thank you, John. It's really a great pleasure to have you guys in, and I know you're busy, and it's really it's so cool. I'd love to have you in and talk issues. You know, John comes in on Wednesdays, and Pat, I'd love to have you visit occasionally to weigh in on things. We really miss you, and I really miss your take. We used to do so Pat used to come on the air right after my show. So we do a little like crosstalk thing, and I look forward to it every day. It was just the greatest thing, and we would have fun with it, or we'd be yelling at each other, or it was just a real moment, and it was like just a couple of minutes, but it was something I looked forward to every day. And Pat, I'd love to have you as part of the mix if you can.
And we did it. John and I did it too. You know, some of my favorite times on the air with John, it would be when we would be arguing, and we love each other. It was always, we'd end up very, very friendly, but boy, we would yell at each other, and it was, I thought it was good radio. I thought it was loads of fun. And then callers would tend to support or oppose one or the other of us. And that was pretty fun. Sometimes we would include them in the whole mix. And then I'd get really mad if they were siding with John more than with me.
Well,
But
John,
who could blame them, Pat?
Yeah. I still try to hold John to account and argue with him when he stops in. Look at this. Janet R., a $200 gift
Holy
to the show.
cow.
And super chat. Happy 2 years, Janet says. Now, Janet also has been with us since the very beginning. So supportive. She's got our merch. She's got, really, really cool. My mom always listened to KGO, which is how I started to listen, Janet says. I miss the radio, but love this format too. Here's to many more years.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Not going to cry, but I must say that is a cry-worthy sentiment, and what a generous donation to the show. And this is a weird thing too. I'll mention it because Janet gives this $200 gift to the show. I'm not used to, and I'm still not used to it. It's been 2 years hustling for money, which is what you have to do in this format. You have to ask your audience for a little love, a little support, a little monthly support, because that helps us know that we can make payroll. So it's a weird thing because we're used to advertiser-supported stuff, right? On KCBS, on KGO, whatever it might be. So it's a weird thing, but it's just a fact. Very grateful to the Exiles for the last 2 years. Thanks, Steve M., for the initial push.
True.
Scott Rittenberg says all of that with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Scott. You've also been here for so long and so supportive. Really, really cool. And I guess I have to say goodbye to my dear friends, but I really appreciate you guys coming through.
What a treat to see your faces today.
Yeah.
I want to see you again very soon.
As I like to say, there's no place I would rather be than right here with all of you.
A perfect ending, John.
That's
Can I
John's.
ask I know this is an anniversary celebration. Can I ask one political question?
Sure.
Sure.
Are we getting nervous yet about this election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I think is the problem? Part of what we've been talking about. Part of what I think is the problem is that the people in America, too many of the people in America, don't trust the media that has typically been the most trustworthy media in America, the mainstream news. And their distrust has just gained this enormous momentum since Donald Trump has taken to calling it fake news. And so for people to actually know the truth, it's a chore. They have to seek it out. And so they tend to go to the places that are going to be more like them. And they don't look for evidence. They just look for the people to tell them the things that they want to hear or that are going to justify the ridiculous attitudes that they may have. And I don't know how we're going to fix that, because when you attack the media like that and you get the people of the country to distrust the media as much as they do today, it's going to be bad, and it's going to be very difficult to get that trust back.
It's also a tried and true tactic. John, you can speak to this. I mean, rising autocracies, they first run down the media. They want to run down facts so that they can offer up their own propaganda, which is exactly what Trump has done. So that's like, who are you going to believe? Those guys.
I agree with you, and I agree with Pat. May I tell you, I just gave a talk. That's the reason I was a little late coming on, and I apologize for that. But I just gave a talk. The most destructive thing I've seen in this campaign season is the doubt about the process of the election. Last night on 60 Minutes, the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania, who is a Republican, a Trump supporter, came on and said, our election is going to be completely honest and above board. And it was as well in the year 2020. And when I read and listened to the New York Times interview with J.D. Vance, 5 times Vance was asked about whether or not Biden won the election, whether Trump lost the election. And 5 times, J.D. Vance would not answer the question. And that, to me, is the ultimate undermining of the American election process. Yeah. I have been in situations where we've won and when we've lost, but the thing is we've always had an answer. And let me tell you, I've been asked now to do a number of appearances after the election. People said, come in on November 6th to November 7th. No, I want to come in a week later because we may not know the result on election night. We may have these kinds of challenges. And may I say, most particularly, the fact that Donald Trump would blame the Jews, saying if he loses the election, it's the fault of the Jews, horrified me. It should have been denounced uniformly across the board. These kind of anti-Semitic tropes. And by the way, Mark, are you having that celebratory celebration serving cats and dogs made by your Haitian chef? I mean, this is the kind of rubbish which, if I only wish, and I say this with all sincerity, my poor wife agrees with me. She has to listen to me go on these rampages on this stuff. I wish we were
for
on
the first
HBO.
time, he always says, my poor wife. The more I listen to John, I go, yeah, she really is the poor wife.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I was thinking how fun it would be to hear that voice going on the rampage in the living room. Absolutely.
Well,
I love it when you're
I would
angry.
have liked to have been is on the air with all of us together, being able to really inform the citizens of San Francisco about these kinds of things. Do you understand the undermining of the American political process, which is what Donald Trump is doing, is more dangerous than anything, because if we can't be certain about the outcome of an election, if we're going to doubt how we vote, we are in deep trouble. I don't.
Well, we
mind
can be
losing
certain about it. It's used as it was all politics. It continues to be politics. You know, J.D. Vance said it's over. He talked about Trump as a total joke. He talked about Trump as incompetent. He said there's no way I vote for Trump. He said I probably will vote for Hillary.
Talked about Trump as an American Hitler.
He said, I'll probably vote for Hillary Clinton. That was back, in 16. So J.D. Vance, I think there's more than just this election denial. It's the way that the lust for power, I think, forces
and he
people
could
to
be president of the United States of America.
Yeah. There's a very good possibility.
There's a much more clever crew coming in to replace the last clever crew that were around Trump. This is a much more, I think, confident from the standpoint of sort of their fiendish ability to do things.
Read Project
than the last time.
2025.
Yeah.
I did a podcast, a 1-hour discussion on this very subject that is posted online. It is horrifying, and nobody is making the issue the way it ought to be defined.
Well, the government really will be dismantled under Project 2025 if it indeed is executed. I've got Gary Dietrich, who is the wonderful political pundit who joined us regularly, joined Ron regularly, I know, for years, and continues to join us on this show. So I've got him waiting. John Rothman's podcast, if you want to hear him, thank you for putting it up there, Albert, Around the Political World with John Rothman. You can listen to him daily and find his Project 2025 hour-long special, because that really, I think, could shed some light on what is a potential future,
And don't forget to tune in on the weekends to Pat Thurston.
I'm getting to Pat now on KCBS. But I think, Pat, we could really do some riffing here on this platform. So I hope you'll come back and visit, and we can just go over
and I would
stuff.
like to very much. I love you, Mark. I love you, Kim. I love you, John. And Gary Dietrich, I love you too.
Wow. That's a lot of love. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Thanks
John.
for helping us celebrate.
Pat.
Bye, you guys.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.